Deion Sanders is leaving Colorado to take the Florida job. So they say.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the app today. We're also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow so you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. Let's talk Deion Sanders going to Florida. That seems to be a popular thought, a popular suggestion following the firing of Billy Napier, and I'm here to tell you it's probably not going to happen. Not probably, it's not going to happen. We're going to talk about Colorado's big swings on the recruiting trail, why one specific recruit could be a long-term investment, if you will. And then lastly, I'm going to go through the best and worst case scenarios for Colorado's last few games as they chase bowl eligibility and possibly even a dark horse run to the Big 12 title. But let's talk about Deion Sanders going to Florida. A lot of people want to throw his name out there, and there's two main reasons, right? There's two key reasons why Deion Sanders pops up when SEC jobs, specifically in Florida, open up. He's a Florida guy, and he has made it clear from day one that he's taking the job at Colorado that he likes himself some Florida recruits, right? So everyone automatically goes, Deion Sanders, big brand, SEC, he likes Florida. It's just a perfect match, right? There's the ties, and we have this disease as a society where it's like, okay, we need the biggest names in sports playing or coaching for the biggest teams. And that's not true. And then the second thing, and the more obvious one, is although Deion Sanders' Colorado team isn't in the Big 12 mix right now, although they don't have a Heisman frontrunner, a Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award winner who happens to be his son, and two-way star who wins the Heisman, which I already kind of mentioned but didn't really mention, you know what I mean? People love to throw his name out there, right? And so when you say Deion Sanders to Florida, like all these lists, I saw Dan Orlovsky fired off a list with them, and I've seen probably about 7 to 10 outlets now where it's like, dark horse candidate, Deion Sanders going to Florida. And I'm here to tell you that aside from the fact that, listen, Florida is an attractive job. It's in the SEC. It's in a recruiting hotbed. It has a rich history of success. That being said, it's not a match for Deion Sanders. And I say this because Deion Sanders he isn't just someone that you just hired just because you want the Deion Sanders experience. You have to be willing for your administration, your boosters, your fans. They have to be willing to accept the Deion Sanders experience. The reason that Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, has found so much success in Boulder is because Colorado relatively lets him do his thing, right? They said, you know what? You want it clean house, and bring in your Louis luggage your first year? Go ahead, right? Bring in 70 plus transfers. They said, oh, you want to have your son be the only person who could be at practice and record videos and stuff? By all means, go for it, right? Build his brand too. Oh, you want to have an Amazon documentary, going on at all times, behind the scenes stuff? Go for it, right? I think there is so many things that Deion Sanders does now at Colorado that Florida simply wouldn't allow, because they're not buying. I don't think Florida would buy into what Coach Prime preaches. I think they'd be excited about the hundreds of millions of dollars that he'd bring in revenue. But I think Colorado has embraced Coach Prime and what he means to a program, right? They embrace him as a leader of men. They embrace him as a culture changer, right? At Florida, it'd be like, okay, you're Deion Sanders, the Hall of Famer. Get us some cool 5-star recruits and make us cool again, right? Get all the top dogs to come over here from Florida. Get us back in the SEC race. And as soon as Deion Sanders would want to do something his way, Florida would be up in arms, right? And I wrote about this for Athlon Sports. I did a top 5 candidates list, and my candidates did not include Deion Sanders, but one of them included Lane Kiffin from Ole Miss. And I said, the way that Florida has acted around Billy Napier through the Billy Napier era, we will say, and even dating back to the Dan Mullen era, As soon as something ever so slight frustrates them, they turn their backs on him. As soon as Dan Mullen wasn't right, he won, I think it was 10 games in year one, like 11 or 12 in year two, if I'm not mistaken. And all of a sudden he struggles the next year. And it's like, this dude can't recruit, right? He's not bringing in top 5, top 3 classes. Get him out of here. And then they bring in Billy Napier, who's blue chip Billy. That was his nickname. And they turned on him, right? Lane Kiffin, the reason I worry about him going to Florida is, are they going to be fine with him tweeting at people? Are they going to be fine with him taking shirtless pics after hot yoga on a Saturday morning before a game? He did that on Saturday before the Georgia game, right? Are they going to be okay with the Lane Kiffin experience? I doubt it, right? To be a head coach at a program that is like, Florida is a blue chip program, but they haven't been acting like it. Like, it reminds me of Texas, it reminds me of Nebraska, where it's like everyone loves you until they don't, until you give them a reason not to. And I'll tell you what, those programs, Ohio State included, I mean, look, they wanted Ryan Day fired because he couldn't beat Michigan. They led them to a title. So you're telling me that they're just going to fully embrace how Deion Sanders operates and everything's going to be all hunky-dory? I'm telling you, it's not going to happen, right? Deion Sanders and Colorado are the perfect marriage, because Colorado believes in Deion Sanders. They let him operate the way he wants to, right? And regardless of how this year goes, Rick George is going to let Deion Sanders, say it doesn't finish as well as they would have liked, right? Rick George is going to let Deion Sanders figure it out. It's not going to be like, okay, the clock is ticking on you now, buddy. No, that's not how it works, right? Deion Sanders is going to get time to figure things out. That's not how it works at Florida. And I think the people who are just excited about a big name coach at the big name program, it's like, you're missing the point. Is it a fit? Does it work out, right? Stop looking at stuff through the lens of like, oh, this is going to bring in so much viewership, right? Oh, Florida's never going to be cooler, right? There's a reason Florida is looking for its 5th coach since Urban Meyer, right? The program has taken a major step back, right? And I'm not saying Colorado is a better program historically. I'm just saying that Florida needs someone who could come in and flip the culture right away, who could flip the success right away. And they need someone who's going to do it within the parameters that they want, right? If Dan Mullen's getting fired because he's not recruiting well enough, well, Deion Sanders' biggest recruiting class was his first year, and about half of those recruits he kind of inherited. So I wouldn't say half, but a chunk of them, right? So if you're not going to let Deion Sanders do his thing, it's not going to work out. Plus, Colorado invested in Deion Sanders, and I think they're going to continue to invest in him. I'm expecting more and more investments in Colorado from boosters somewhere down the line. I think it's going to happen eventually. We all know who the potential candidates are, and I do think that there's eventually going to be a move there, because eventually you're going to get to a point where it's like, hey, we want to keep Deion Sanders, and we need a little extra moolah, if you know what I mean. So Deion Sanders to Florida, for everyone that's suggesting it, just stop. Just stop. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of Colorado's huge recruiting swings as of late, and why one recruit could be a long-term investment. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. This episode of Locked On Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at Quo. One of the tools that help make a huge difference in business owners is Quo, formerly OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer service communications. It works right through an app on your phone or computer, so no carrying 2 phones or relying on one of those, what is it called, a landline? No siree. I love how Quo, formerly known as OpenPhone, lets you team share one number and collaborate on calls and texts like a shared inbox, so no customer gets left hanging. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's QUO.com/lockedoncollege. And if you got existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you're not missing out, right? You don't want to miss out on any of the coverage because we got some fun stuff to talk about. One of the fun things I think we need to talk about is Colorado's recruiting offers. They're starting to flow out, and I don't know if this is a change. I think it is kind of because they're getting in on guys early. I think Colorado's starting to be more aggressive on the recruiting trail, which to me signifies a change in strategy. Right. I think Deion Sanders is kind of soft launching his approach to roster building for the future. It's like, hey, we are going to bring in transfers, but based on what we're seeing from our linebackers or our corners or what the receivers, the quarterbacks, whatever it is, right? We need to have guys that we develop that have been here in the system, not bring in guys that we're just hoping things click, right? Because for every Zarian McGill and Tafiq Bayard, there's a Jaheim Otis, right? There's I don't want to throw guys under the bus, but you know what I mean? Where there's a guy like the Auburn transfer that left the program, right? There's so many guys where it's like you're just hit or miss, right? If you bring in a recruit, I feel like you have a higher chance of retaining them. John Slaughter was who I was looking for, not Colton Hood, for those of you who are going to try to be messy out there. But you have to have a sense of culture. And I think bringing in 30 plus new guys every year from different programs, it's hard to ensure and instill that your culture is always going to win through, right? So there's been some notable offers that I've seen Colorado send out. And there's a couple that I want to highlight because one, it's like future investments. So the one that really caught my attention, or one of them that caught my attention, was the number one offensive tackle in the 2028 class, Jamarius Canton. Now, Jamarius is, I mean, I'll give you 5 seconds to guess where he plays at. I'll give you a hint. Colorado's current left tackle plays there. So yeah, IMG, right? Deion Sanders has found, which a lot of programs get IMG recruits. I mean, they're literally they're like the minor leagues or not the minor leagues, but they're the perfect farm system for college football programs trying to develop top tier guys, right? I did get a little Dr. P break right there, but yes, IMG is just full of talented guys, right? So Coach Prime has found some success recruiting there, and he goes out and offers Jamarius, who number 15 player in the country, number 1 offensive tackle, number 6 player in the state of Florida. Offer list is everyone you can imagine: Bama, Arkansas, Florida, Florida State, Georgia's on there, LSU, or excuse me, not Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, Texas has sent an offer, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, right? A who's who of like who they're offering, right? Like Colorado is clearly trying to build their offense line because I think, which is kind of crazy to say, having a good offense line this year shows like, hey, we really were close to contending. We were an offensive line away. Now we have the offensive line. We don't have the right parts. But if you sustain that offensive line play, like Jordan Seaton being the lone holder, he's thrived, right? So if you get another guy like Canton to come in there and be a holdover and be someone that you cornerstone, if you will, it'd be huge. Then another notable one that I think sort of speaks to the issue they've been having is Micah Rhodes. Now, Micah Rhodes, Klein Oak running back out of Texas, number 1 running back in the country, 5'9 and a half, 180. So he fits that Coach Prime mold of that compact guy. But he's fast. He is quick. This past season, in 2024, he ran for 934 yards and 10 touchdowns. Was the offensive newcomer of the year. Has a successful family background of athletes. His uncle played at Boise State. Was number 2 in career receptions. And then his grandfather played at Texas, was a linebacker there, right? Every school you can imagine is after him as well. Florida State, Baylor, Arizona. I do feel like Colorado's in on him early because, I mean, you need running back talent, right? Colorado has sort of stumbled on this issue of running back where they keep, I will say this year's room is good, but it got thin real quick, right? And you need talent and you need guys that fit your system. And I think he sort of fits in that DeKalen Taylor mold. So there's that. Then another guy that they offered, which I mean, you need running backs, right? You need trench play, but you also need, and let me pull him up real quick. Jalen Anderson, 24/7. You need a lot of talent at. Sorry, why is it at edge? Excuse me, could not think of the word. I don't know why. Words are hard sometimes, you know. It's just one of those things where he's got 30 D1 offers, ranked as a 3-star, but I mean, his tape through the first 5 games, 6 sacks, first in his conference, third nationally, 36 tackles, nine tackles for a loss, 2 forced fumbles, and a pick 6, right? Jalen Anderson, who goes by the Joker, Colorado has found success at young pass rushers, right? Alexander McPherson and London Merritt are the future of this program, right? On the edge. They will be terrorizing quarterbacks for years to come. And Colorado, probably next year, the year after, will have a Texas Tech-like pass rush, which you're saying, what does that mean? Well, Texas Tech has probably the best pass rush in college football, and Colorado's going to have that because they built it organically, right? I think there's sort of this like underlying, like, oh shoot, maybe we should build organically because it helps, right? It's Texas Tech is, I mean, they're succeeding right now because they spent tons. They spent $30 million on the roster, right? I don't think Colorado has $30 million to throw around yet. Doesn't mean that won't happen, but I do think that they need to invest in recruiting. The next recruit, and this one's the one that captures my attention. Carson Campbell, 6'3", 290 pounds. He's a freshman in high school. And you're probably like, why do we care about a freshman offensive line? The name Campbell should sound familiar, and that is because his father is Cody Campbell, the Texas Tech mega donor, right? Who's been the one that sort of infused all of this cash into Texas Tech, where it's like, oh, why does Texas Tech all of a sudden have a lot of money? Well, it's because they have an oil tycoon who used to play offensive line for them, right? He's a bajillionaire, and I mean, a lot of programs are going to take a swing at this kid. Texas Tech has already offered him, so I mean, I would imagine that they got the inside track, but that doesn't mean you give up, because guess what? Maybe he wants to pave his own way. Maybe he doesn't want to follow in dad's footsteps, right? So if you're Colorado, I like this swing here. It's calculated for sure because it's like we get the kid, and maybe we get the father's money, right? Maybe we get the Campbell money. Maybe that one recruit could be worth $30 million, right? I really think that it's a long-term play. And it's not to take away from this kid. He's got the size, he's got the intangibles. He's going to be a really good football player. But you can't convince me that programs aren't going to be like, hey, love to have you and your dad. And I think Colorado is at least taking a swing at it. And that's the kind of recruiting risk I like to see from Deion Sanders and company, because what's the worst that can happen? He doesn't go there and he goes to play for Texas Tech. I mean, he was probably already going to do that, right? But if you get in there, you convince them to come to Boulder, right? It's very hard for recruits to come to Boulder and then be like, you know what? It just wasn't for me, right? Once you visit Boulder and once Coach Prime gets you in front of him, I think it's pretty hard for people, for recruits to be like, yeah, you have all these pros, you have all this, all that, and I just don't think it's for me, right? So Colorado, quite active on the recruiting trail. I think it's going to be a sign of the times. I think it's going to be a changing of the mentality a little bit because they're offering guys so early. And I mean, they offered guys early last year, but I'm seeing some big swings. I'm seeing some more in-depth scouting of like the 3-star, 4-star borderline guys where it's like, interesting. I don't think they were in their bag like that last couple cycles. So we'll see how that works out. When we come back, we're going to talk about what the best case and worst case scenarios for Colorado in their last 5 games. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Monarch Money. Let me tell you about Monarch. Great butterfly and also a great service. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch's visual data boards, or dashboards, and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where my money is going and how it makes it work harder for me. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarch.com, for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you all for tuning in and making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, all that jazz. We don't want you missing out. I want to get to 8,000 subscribers real soon here. So I'd really appreciate this if you shared it with a friend, shared it with a family member, so we could continue to grow the show. Okay, let's talk about it. The football season, it felt like it took forever to get here. And now we're in a position where there's 5 games left. And it's like, oh, shit, that kind of happened fast. Colorado, 5 games left. They go at Utah. They're going to host Arizona, take a trip to Morgantown, host Arizona State, and then they're going to take a trip to Manhattan, Kansas to close out the year. And right now, Colorado's sitting at 3-4 in the Big 12 standings, the Big 12 scheme of it all. They are currently sitting in third to last place, so they're only ahead of Oklahoma State and West Virginia. That being said, there's 2 other programs with the same record as them in conference play. And then there's 6 programs that are, if Colorado gets 1 win and those programs get a loss, they're all bundled. Pardon me, folks, got a hairball. They're all bundled up, right? There's about a bunch of teams, and Colorado plays a few of them, that is 1 loss changes everything for them. A couple losses changes everything for them. Let's just say this Big 12 conference is really mucked up, right? So you have Iowa State, who Colorado already beat. So 1 more loss and Colorado surpasses them because the head-to-head. TCU, Baylor, Kansas State, Utah, Kansas, they're all 2-2 in conference play, right? A bunch of those teams are going to fall to 2-3, depending on who's who. Colorado could pass them, right? A lot of things can happen. That being said, Colorado can only focus on what's ahead of them. So before we even get to Big 12 championship discussions, I need to see Colorado win a couple more games before I'll even entertain that. But you have to win out if you're going to reach the Big 12 championship. There's really no way for you to have 3 conference more than 3 conference losses and make it. So there's that. But let's talk about bowl games, right? Colorado needs to win 3 out of their last 5. Now, best case scenario, you win 3 out of your last 5, right? You beat, or that's just the not the best case. That's the average scenario. You beat Utah, you win 4 or 5 games, and I mean you're sitting at 8-4, or you win 4 games, you're sitting at 7-5. This is what I realistically think the best case scenario is. I think Colorado can upset Utah. I think they could beat Arizona. I think they could beat West Virginia. I think their last 2 games on their schedule are toughest games that they'll have this year, or not this year, but for the rest of the slate. Arizona State, physical team, just dynamic, look like a playoff team again. Kansas State, I think Avery Johnson and Dylan Edwards can hurt Colorado. I think that's the combination. Utah doesn't scare me as much as I thought they would, mostly because I feel like every time they play a good team, they kind of get embarrassed, right? They lost by 24 to Texas Tech. They didn't really play anyone in the month of September, right? Outside of Texas Tech, and they lost. They got blown out. Right? They played UCLA, which was at this time the worst team in the country. Now they're good, but at this time it was a bad UCLA. They blew the brakes off of Cal Poly. They beat Wyoming, and they didn't even look that good against Wyoming for the most part. And then they beat the brakes off West Virginia. Then they get Arizona State without Sam Leavitt, so it's like they beat up Jeff Sims. It's like, okay, cool, right? Like Utah is probably at 5-2, probably the most unproven team in the Big 12. I think, right? I think simply because of they're riding off preseason expectations and sort of a cupcake schedule, or a cupcake. I mean, they have a cupcake schedule, I guess, in the sense of like the teams that they've beaten up on have all been bad or severely injured. And then when they play a true team, they lose, right? So I think Colorado can upset them. Worst case scenario for Colorado is this next stretch. I mean, this Colorado's bowl game hopes can end in the next 3 or 4 weeks, right? You lose to Utah, so you're sitting at 3-5. You lose to Arizona, who's a decent team, right? That game's going to be a shootout. You beat West Virginia. I think Colorado beats West Virginia no matter what. Arizona State beats you, and so now you're done, right? You have to win 3 out of these next 5, and you can't lose 3, right? So Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State are the games that concern me. And then worst case, where people are going to lose jobs for sure, is you lose 4 out of the last 5, and you go 4-8 again, right? You can't have that happen, right? So you guys let me know, what is the best case scenario for Colorado in your eyes? What is the worst case scenario? I think best case scenario, they they win a couple games here and there, make it to a bowl game, and sort of salvage the season and get ready for next year and sort of get ready for the Julian Lewis era. The worst case scenario, things fall apart. So thank you for making Locked On Buffs your first listen today. For your second listen, go check out Locked On Big 12. Drake Toll breaks down the most exciting conference in college sports, from the rivalries to the championships and every game in between. Follow Locked On Big 12 on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.